We could do anything. But what you gonna do for it? How you gonna move for it? What you gonna be?
Hey everybody, I'm A-Train Bets. Welcome to the channel, and today I want to talk about how there's a price that either side of any given bet becomes positive expected value. I want to walk through an example and help you understand that even though, hey, on a given bet, you're only going to, one side's going to win, one side's going to lose, but both sides can be profitable in the long run if we're approaching it the right way. And so we're here because with what we do, A-Train Bets, Odds Jam, Regenerate Gambling, we don't try to predict the future. We look at the math and the odds prices to tell us what we should be doing. And so I'm going to bring up an example. So this example is just a basketball game that's going to be on tonight. It's the Warriors versus Lakers on the money line. So this is just which team is going to win. We're going to keep it as simple as we can. And in this case, we can see that based on the best odds available, the Lakers appear to be a bit of a favorite. By a small amount. We can actually calculate exactly what that's going to be. We look at the various lines that are available in all these different books, and there's a lot of small variances in the price, but for the most part, there are relatively consistent. If we look at, and this one that you'll see on Odds Jam is the algorithmic odds. This is where Odds Jam has crunched the numbers across a number of smart books and said, this is what we think the right line in the market should be, and the best the available lines on both sides should be. And so in this case, we see a plus 135 and minus 135 gives us, in fact, that these should be a bit of a toss-up, 50-50, as opposed to what we're actually seeing. You could also say, oh, there's other sharp books. You can look at Pinnacle, you can look at Circa, and that helps give us a gauge of other opinions in the market. There's no guarantee on how we assess the market is exactly correct. But what we can do is say, okay, well, if we can gauge, hey, here's what the market is. If we start to see prices that deviate from that enough, we have a mathematical advantage in playing any bet. Now, we're going to use this example of an NBA moneyline bet, but this could be any bet, literally any bet out there. At the right price, this becomes profitable. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up what I call the A-Train Bets Money Machine, and all this is a spreadsheet that allows me to kind of bring together some of the calculations that OddsJam already provides. So if you look at OddsJam has all these different calculators that you can use, and all I've done is taken some of the logic behind them, the calculations within them, and put them into one spreadsheet where I can put in my specific information. And this is what I use on my daily live streams to determine which bets I'm making. But this is what we can also use it for. So if we look in, and what I typically will put in here is the best available odds on particular wagers. So I put it into this money machine and I say, okay, that's that. And then I'm going to look at what are our reference odds. And in this case, because Odds Jam has 135 and minus 135, to me, that's probably not a realistic actual line out there in the world because there's no vig on that particular algorithmic line. And so instead of that, let's just use Pinnacle. Pinnacle is widely regarded as the sharpest sports book in the world. They have a pretty heavy confidence, which is what this width number tells us. They have a heavy confidence in their lines that they've set for the game tonight, but they are charging a vig because they are a sports book and they're trying to make money. And that will help us understand what we have for the rest of this evaluation. Because what we're going to do is say, okay, well, instead of saying just the best odds, let's say we have let's use Caesars as an example. Caesars is a sports book that's widely available in many different places, including Las Vegas. Let's look at that and let's put in the book odds that we have here at Caesars, right? So based on what we assess at the correct market line, so this hasn't changed. This is what Pinnacle is telling us the line should be if everybody changed their prices to mash them all together, and this is what the price would be in the market. Caesars is saying, okay, well, we're going to give you a little bit less on this one, and we're going to charge you a little bit more on this other one. Their lines aren't as player friendly as Pinnacle in the circumstance, which is fine. Pinnacle is known for having low vig, so you're not going to be surprised by that. But at what point, here's the question that we have to ask ourselves. What is the amount that it would take for us to start to be interested in placing a wager? Because if you see these kinds of numbers on your positive EV, what we've done here is our reference odds tell us that the no-vig line should be 132. So that means I need a 132.81, 132 132.81 to break even, to get to zero. Okay, so it rounds to 133. And because you're not going to see decimals on the odds typically. So, and on this side, I need a minus 132.81. So we'll come back to Caesars in a minute, but I just want you to understand the math behind this. So both sides of this are at zero now, right? We're still not placing a wager on this because there's no money to be made. This is where our no-vig line has told us, hey, this is exactly the break-even point. Fine. So what that means is that, say, if Caesars weren't offering us the 122 that they are offering us, but instead are offering us 140, all of a sudden, we now have a 3% EV wager on this particular money line bet, and we're going to take the Golden State Warriors at plus 140 to be winning that game. And we're going to be excited about it. That's a 3% EV, right? So let's go back to this. It's minus it's 132.81. So we could go back to zero on that. Now, if they only charged us minus 110 instead of minus 133, now we see, hey, there's an EV of 8.91% on the Lakers to win this. And we're going to put some real money down on this because it's such an advantage. Even if it's at minus 120, we're still talking a near 5% EV or 4.5% EV, and we're still going to have a pretty healthy wager on it, especially when, because you could imagine this is probably going to be sitting at the 122 that Caesars actually is, and minus 145 as a baseline. But if they were to change that number to minus 120, what goes from a negative 3.61 EV all of a sudden goes to a 4.58%. That's the power of the prices. Either side of this becomes profitable at the right price. Now, it doesn't change the fact that the Warriors and the Lakers are going to play later today, and one of those teams is going to win, because we are not in the business of trying to predict that. All that information that could be used to predict that is baked into the odds that these books are setting. And so for us, we're not going to try. We're just going to look at the prices and say, okay, well, the market has told us that it should be 127 and minus 141. And as soon as the actual prices that we get start to deviate from that, we're going to find actual plays. And so if I go in this example and I say, okay, what's 133 and minus 136, we have a slight EV play on this particular random game that I assessed at 5 dimes has a plus 133. Well, at minimum, if you happened to like the Warriors and said, I really want to bet the Warriors today, at least go to 5 dimes and bet it at plus 133. You'll get more for it and have a slight positive EV. Now, I don't advocate for that. I advocate for ignore what you think about the teams and go bet based on the dollars and the expected value that you can get from these bets. Don't think, because what happens when you think about that is that you're saying, oh, I'm so confident in the Warriors that I'm going to go bet it at 5 dimes, but you only have a subset of the available information. The market has already baked in all of the information available to the prices. So if you're going to go and do that, at least, well, okay, Golden State, if you want to bet on the game either way, you want to do it for entertainment, that's fine. Bet Golden State in this case, because you can get a market. If you have an account at 5 dimes, you can place it at 5 dimes. That's fine. But otherwise, if say maybe the best you can do is at DraftKings, if that's a 130, now you're all of a sudden just in a cup 133 versus 130. Now you're at a minus 1.2% EV. That's not a good bet. You don't want to have that. And so to me, it's much more important to look at the math and say, hey, market has already priced all of this in. I want to go where there's actual value. And that's how effectively the EV tool works. This is how OddsJam works, is that it's looking at all of these market lines. They're doing their algorithms and they're helping you find where are there mathematical opportunities to get better returns than the likelihood of these events happen. And then you do dozens or hundreds of these bets over time, thousands of these bets eventually. The law of large numbers kick in, and those EV percentages that you're getting, if you're constantly finding, and you say, I'm going to wait until I get a 140. Because if I can get a 140, now I see it's at plus 3% EV. I'm now going to make that play, and I'm going to be advantageous. Now, I can't do that right now. This is why, like in stock trading, you can set limits. You would set a limit bet or a limit trade. An order limit, so that you have a price that you're like, I'm not going to buy or sell this more or less than this particular price. And that's the same basic concept, is that you see value at a particular price versus just betting the side blindly. I mean, anybody out there who's recommending picks without a price associated with it, it's just made up. It's just irrelevant. Because everything, any recommendation on a side should be predicated on a price versus the market. It should be on understanding, hey, at this price, this bet is attractive. At this price, this bet is not attractive. As we've seen, it doesn't take a lot to change whether or not a particular side is the side to play. And once you understand the underlying math behind it, once you understand, hey, here's how we calculate the likelihood of these things occurring. Here's how we understand what the reference line is. I mean, it's so much more important to figure out what's a good methodology to determining which our reference line should be. Should we, in this case, use a Pinnacle line, or should we use a Bet Online line, or Circa, or a OddsJam algorithm? Like, you got to kind of feel it and say, okay, well, here's what the market looks like. There's times when I'm betting into a relatively illiquid market, meaning that there's not a lot of books that have odds on a particular event or on a particular side of an event. And I have to gauge, what do I think it would be? Sometimes I just use a straight average because I see an outlier so big that I want to understand, okay, what is the amount I probably should put on this game? And that gets determined, and we'll talk about this in a different video, but that gets determined by your Kelly criteria, your bankroll settings, how much you can afford to risk based on the likelihood of an event occurring. Topic for another day, but the key is, if you're picking a side, understand the importance of those odds, because too often as humans, we understand, oh, Lakers versus Warriors, one of those teams is going to win. Who do I think is going to win? That's how most people do their betting. That is not the way to make money betting. The way to make money betting is to say, I'll pick either side at the right price, because the price is something that I can quantitatively assess, evaluate against the market, bake in we're taking advantage of the efficient market hypothesis, and that all of that information in the market comes to us in these odds. And then we can just say, hey, there's a better deal over here. Let's go get that. People love coupons. It's like getting coupons, like getting a good deal. That's all we're searching for. We're looking for good deals, and then we bet on it. And so I'm trying to teach you all how to do this. If you find this useful, please like and subscribe, follow the page, follow my live streams Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. Every day. We're out there. I'm doing my bets. I'll show you myself putting those bets in. And it's because all of this math checks out. I have, if you look, 8Train Bets on Picket, which is a great bet tracking software, costs nothing. You can use it on your mobile device. You can follow 8Train Bets there and see my picks day in, day out. Follow the picks if you want to. Bet the picks if you want to. But learn the process. Learn what underlies it so that you can go do it yourself and make money in the context that you're in. You'll have different books access. You have different lines. You'll be betting at different times. You'll be able to do this yourself. It is not that hard once you understand the fundamentals. So in this case, understand either side of a bet is profitable at the right price, and over time that will add up. So you'll win some, you'll lose some in the actual event, but if you bet into a process that has a mathematical advantage, the law of large numbers will get you a profit over time. With that, thank you for watching, and check out my other videos, check out the lives, and we'll see you on the other side. Thanks, everybody.